You know, every single day, you trust your life to a silent giant, a massive structure of steel and concrete that's fighting invisible forces just to keep you from, well, plunging into the abyss. We call them bridges. But have you ever stopped to think about the constant, epic war they're fighting just to stay standing? Okay, let's really get into this because this is honestly one of the greatest physics puzzles engineers have ever solved. I mean, how do they build these absolutely colossal structures to withstand forces that should, by all rights, send them crashing into the ground? The answer is just an incredible story of balance, crazy ingenuity, and learning from some truly spectacular failures. So, to understand how bridges stand, first we gotta meet the forces that are trying to tear them down. And trust me, there is one main villain leading the charge. Yep, good old gravity. See, for a skyscraper, the ground is always there, pushing right back. But a bridge, it's just hanging out over nothing, just empty space. Gravity is this relentless predator, constantly trying to bend and snap the whole structure in two. And it doesn't work alone. Oh no, gravity has a whole gang of accomplices. You've got the live loads, that's us, right? In our cars and trains, constantly shifting the weight around. Then, bam, you've got wind trying to twist it, earthquakes trying to shake it apart, water pushing against its legs, and even ice trying to shrink and crack it. They are dynamic, unpredictable, and incredibly powerful. So with this whole gang of forces trying to tear every bridge apart, how on earth do engineers fight back? It's not about just using bigger and bigger chunks of concrete. Nope. They use something much, much cleverer. A secret weapon that's all about a perfect and really delicate dance between two opposing powers. And here they are, tension and compression. It's that simple. Tension is a pulling force that tries to stretch something out, while compression is a pushing force that tries to squeeze it together. Every single bridge in the world, from a little wooden plank to the Golden Gate Bridge, is an absolute masterclass in taming these two forces. And the easiest way to think about this is with a spring. If you pull on that spring, you feel the tension building up. If you push its ends together, you feel the compression. The entire art of building a bridge comes down to directing these two forces so they basically cancel each other out, instead of, tearing the whole thing apart. So every single part of a bridge is either being stretched by tension or squeezed by compression. If tension wins, things snap. If compression wins, things buckle. So how do engineers make sure that neither force gets the upper hand? Well, the engineers basically have two main strategies. You can either be a diplomat or a bouncer. The diplomat's move is to dissipate the force, spread it out so thin that no single part gets overwhelmed. The bouncer strategy? Transfer that force. Take it from a weak spot and basically show it the door, sending it to a much stronger part of the structure. Let's see how they do it. And this is where we meet the superheroes of our story, the different types of bridges. Each one has evolved its own unique power to defeat the forces of tension and compression. First up, we've got the original gangster of bridge design, the arch bridge. This design is so good, the Romans were building them 2,000 years ago. And guess what? A lot of them are still standing. And it's all because they are absolute masters of compression. This is just pure genius. The arch's curve takes that downward pull of gravity and, instead of letting it bend the bridge, it channels that force sideways. It spreads it out along the arch and into the solid ground at its ends, which are called abutments. The bridge is literally pushing against itself, which is what makes it so incredibly strong. But what if you need to cross a really wide river and a giant stone arch just isn't going to cut it? Well, that's when you call in the next hero on our team, the truss bridge. This design gets its incredible strength from teamwork. So a simple flat beam bridge would just bend and snap under its own weight. But add a truss, that classic web of triangles, and you create something amazing. Think about it. You can easily squash a square into a diamond shape, right? But a triangle? You can't change its shape without breaking one of its sides. By creating this lattice, the truss bridge spreads the load out perfectly. Some parts get squeezed in compression, others get pulled in tension, and they all work together to create a structure that's both lightweight and incredibly rigid. And for the longest spans, across huge bays and channels, for that, you need the undisputed champion of bridge design, the absolute master of tension, the suspension bridge. And this is where we see that transfer strategy in all its glory. The weight of the road isn't pushing down on anything. Instead, it's pulling down, creating tension in those vertical cables. Those cables then transfer that tension up to the main, massive cables that are swooping between those two towers. The towers take all that force, which is now compression, and drive it straight down into the earth. It's just an incredibly elegant and powerful system. But the story doesn't end with just clever designs. Modern bridges have a few more secret weapons up their sleeves, making them stronger and safer than they have ever been before. Engineers are like master chefs, picking the perfect material for each job. Steel is fantastic at handling tension, which is exactly why it's used for cables. Concrete, on the other hand, is an absolute beast when it comes to compression, so it's perfect for towers. And all of this sits on these meticulously designed foundations that transfer the entire weight of the bridge deep into the ground. Plus, bridges are constantly being checked for any signs of trouble, almost like a patient getting a regular checkup. All of these clever designs and materials make bridges incredibly safe. But what happens when engineers get it wrong? What happens when those invisible forces finally win? The results can be catastrophic, but they also teach us some of our most important lessons. So let me introduce you to maybe the most infamous bridge collapse in history, the 1940 Tacoma Narrows Bridge, better known by its unforgettable nickname, Gallopin' Gertie. On the morning of November 7th, 1940, a moderately strong wind started to blow. But instead of just pushing on the bridge, the wind created this really strange, hypnotic twisting motion. The bridge began to heave and sway like a ribbon in the wind. The motion grew more and more violent, until, with a final, terrifying roar, the entire structure ripped itself apart and plunged into the churning waters below. Now, for years, everyone thought the bridge collapsed because the wind was vibrating at just the right frequency to shatter it, like a singer breaking a wine glass. But the real reason was even stranger: aerodynamic flutter. The shape of the bridge deck was actually a bit like an airplane wing. When the wind blew over it, it created lift. This lift caused the bridge to twist a little bit. But that twist then created even more lift, which caused it to twist even more. It was this vicious feedback loop that literally tore the bridge to pieces. It was a terrifying lesson, but one that changed how we design bridges forever. See, bridges aren't just static objects. They are dynamic structures, constantly balancing a war of invisible forces. Every sway, every little vibration, it's a calculated response. So the next time you cross one, just take a moment to appreciate the incredible unseen battle being fought and won, all to get you safely to the other side.